That's right, I'm parked next to the ocean. This is probably the best boondocking spot I have found. Yeah, so we're gonna stay here tonight. Hopefully it's not an issue, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's go fly a battery. Let's go fly a battery!
Alright, y'all ready? Gather round, kids. I'll tell you all some stories of what life was like before the internet. Wandered round our neighborhoods aimlessly, lighting shit on fire and smoking cigarettes. And your dad probably tried pot. If he said he didn't, then he is a liar. You met your mom when she was passed out on the floor at a party, and that's why they don't let you outside. Oh, gather round, kids. I'll tell you all some stories of what it was like before Facebook ruined everything. We went to concerts to watch the performers, not staring at a live stream on our cell phone screens. We did nice things for each other without posting about it on our status. Got in fights and beat the crap out of each other with our fists instead of through nasty comments. Gather around, kids. I'll tell you all some stories of what it was like before Instagram ruined pictures. We used cameras, got the film developed, and people couldn't even hide behind filters. Now your dad is looking at porn on Tumblr, and your mom cheating on your dad through Tinder swipe right. Does anyone remember the days when we used to like to go outside? Oh, gather around, kids. I'll tell you all some stories of what life was like before the internet. Wandered round our neighborhoods aimlessly, lighting shit on fire and smoking cigarettes. And your dad took a bunch of acid, met your mom. They cut all their classes, went to a party and conceived you on the floor. And that's why they don't let you outside anymore. That's why they don't let you outside anymore. That's why they don't let you outside. Oh, that's why they don't let you outside. Oh, that's why they don't let you outside.
Are you ready? Zoe is now in San Diego! That's right, I have a mic system. No drone RV is complete without having your own announcement system. So if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you probably know about 6 to 8 months ago my life started falling apart. And it really started before then, like when I posted my initial video to Patreon almost a year ago, year and a half ago now. Year ago? Yeah, a year ago. I knew sponsorship-wise, I was quote-unquote not necessarily in trouble, but in trouble. Like, it just wasn't enough for me to stay competitive, and because I wasn't able to stay competitive, I was losing my competitive edge and thus not winning competitions and not doing as good as I was at one point in time. And so it's kind of like a self-defeating cycle. And and there's a breaking point. At some point in time, it just breaks and you have to say it's not working and break out of that cycle. So that's kind of what happened. Like, I couldn't afford to live in Santa Cruz. The rent prices kept going up. I didn't have the income to even maintain there. And even though everyone that supported my Patreon helped get my Patreon up to an amazing amount, like it's at almost $1,800 at one point in time a month, it's down to about $900 a month. And I'm totally okay with that, and I'm extremely appreciative of everyone that has donated in the past and has continued to donate. And I was really under the impression that it would probably be less than that by now, just because of the fact that a lot of people that donated were doing so for a temporary time. But a lot of you guys have stuck with me, and for that, I'm extremely thankful. And on that note, my life is still not completely figured out. I just moved to San Diego. Big news update. I just had nerve ablation done in the Bay Area. Huge news update. I flipped a car trying to go to the Mars Desert Research Station in Utah because I was rushing to get there because I was rushing to get the RV finished, and it stressed me out and basically ended with me tired and distracted driving and flipping a vehicle on the side of a road. I was mostly okay, thankfully. It took me a while to recover from that, but I wasn't able to go on to the Mars trip. And so for that, I traveled around for a solid 3 weeks to a month, going from Utah to Colorado, down to San Diego, and back up to the Bay Area. And the only thing I hadn't planned for was going to the Bay Area. And why, you might ask, is that important? Funds. It had literally wiped out all of my funds trying to make this last trip to the Bay Area work. And the only reason I was going to the Bay Area is because of my medical issues. And a lot of you may or may not know what I've been dealing with, but my latest, or the basic boil of the thing, is my pudendal neuralgia and pudendal entrapment. So I have two nerves that are causing issues that when one starts getting angry / in pain, it'll start convulsions, which will cause the other nerve to get upset and start convulsions. Then the two nerve clusters will convulse, causing almost like a feedback loop, which then causes me to get into immense amount of pain and go to the ER. And I've been to the ER probably at least 20 to 30 times. I know it's a huge number difference, but I can't remember how many times I've been to the ER due to the pain. So it was very debilitating, and my whole life has really been revolving around dealing with that pain, especially over the last 3 years. I've had tons of medical issues in the past, and that this has been one that has been kicking my butt continuously, because living in that kind of pain does a number on you psychologically. Especially when you wake up in pain, you go to bed in pain, you wake up the next day in pain, you go to bed the next day in pain, and that cycle starts to degrade you mentally. And to stay mentally positive through that whole process is extremely difficult. So I have my bad days, I have my good days, and mostly I was having bad days. But thankfully I was able to get most of the nerve issues, my pain issues, narrowed down to the pudendal neuralgia, or the pudendal entrapment. And basically figured out these two nerve clusters were the cause of the pain, and that if we can just, treat these nerve clusters, I could be mostly pain-free. And that's kind of what's happened. So Stanford called me up last month, and they said, hey, we want to do some nerve ablation. We have an opening for you on April 17th. Come on in, we'll get it done. Now, generally, when Stanford calls me to schedule something like that out, it's 2 to 3 months of waiting before it's possible to happen, which has caused me an immense amount of stress in the past. But this time around, it's been a little bit different. So yeah, a bit of a long one, I know, guys, but yeah, so now that I've kind of gotten more of an idea of my pain and how to treat it, life's been a lot better. I haven't gone to the ER in 6-7-ish months. The neuralgia, the entrapment, has definitely been mostly treated by the nerve ablation. And for you guys that don't know what nerve ablation is, essentially they go into your nerves through your spine or next to your spine or wherever have you is affected. And they pinpoint the nerve that's affecting you by sticking these little electrodes into your, the area. And then they electrify those electrodes. In between all of the confluence of them is your nerve. And they basically test to make sure that that's the nerve that's causing you pain. And you feel this like buzzing sensation in the nerve site. And so at that point, once they've located the nerve, they'll go in and essentially burn the nerve ever so slightly to cause it to die off a little bit. which essentially starts blocking the signals coming to your brain and potentially going from your brain to the nerve site. So that's kind of what's happening. Now, there's no real long-term studies for what happens if you've had this done continuously through your life. There's really no long-term studies on treating successfully what I've had to deal with. At least the ones I found haven't been all that great. And yeah, so there's some side effects. One, it's not gone forever. The procedure and the ablation tends to last 6 months to a year, depending on the intensity of the ablation and your body's ability to heal itself. And that basically means I'm going to have to go back for more ablation. And that's stressful. For the rest of my life, potentially, I will constantly have these procedures done to make sure that I can stay and live, hopefully, mostly pain-free. It sucks. It really sucks. But it's better than the alternative. And the alternatives are really bad opiates, which I've had horrible experiences with opiates, and I've been safe to say that I've been mostly opiate-free as far as everything goes for almost 8 months now. I've had a few times where the pain flare-ups will get bad, and I've had to rely on opiates to help me get them down. But at the same time, because the pain's been lessened and I haven't been taking the opiates as much, the opiates are way more effective. So for those moments in time where the pain is too excruciating and I know there's a flare-up imminent, I use opiates to treat the flare-ups. And that's been less and less now because the flare-ups haven't been happening due to the nerve ablation. That process of the convulsing has stopped, which has been a godsend. So, secondary option, just live with it. You really can't. I know not everyone's pain's the same, but the pain that I was in was not livable. It was not doable. It was affecting my mental capacity in multiple ways. It was affecting my emotional state beyond anything that I really ever feel comfortable with. So, can't really just live with it. And the third option is what I'm doing now, which is going the semi-experimental / known to work, but doesn't have, tons of long-term science behind it. In my case, I know physically I had been physically hurt and damaged, that the nerve sites that have been affected have been physically affected. That wasn't necessarily, brought on by another symptom. Like, I wasn't just sitting one day and it got in pain. Like, the nerve sites have been mangled. So knowing that, it makes me feel a lot better knowing that this treatment to treat the nerve sites and the signals going from those specific nerve sites is great. I don't have the fog that is created with opiates. I don't have the anxiety of thinking about how am I going to deal with this pain constantly? And I have, functionality. Not being in that pain, not having to deal with that, my ability to do things has gone up. Like, just the fact that I'm sitting in this chair, guys. The fact I'm sitting in this chair, you have no idea what that means. Like, I spent years unable to sit in a chair. And for the last 6 months, I've actually been sitting up in a chair every day. And you know what? I'm so grateful for that. Yeah. So, I'm literally taking the simple things for granted now. The fact that I can sit up in a chair, the fact that I can actually wake up for once and not be in pain. That's a big deal. It's a big relief. Even though I have in the back of my head that anxiety of not knowing how my body is going to be affected by having these nerve ablations done continuously for potentially years on end. That can create its own complications. But considering the quality of life that I had and the quality of life that I have now, I would say it's worth it. It is 100% worth it. I'm glad that the doctors I did have were willing to listen to me, even though I had to shout at them that I knew it was a nerve problem, and that I knew it was nerve pain, that I knew it was these nerve clusters, and I knew this is what's happening. For them to actually understand that, and for them to, mentally figure out what's going on with my body and treat it properly has been difficult. Like, I have gone through so many subpar treatments, from physical therapy, which just made the pain worse, to all kinds of medications. This is the thing that really irks me. I know I have this physical nerve cluster that's damaged, but they want to give me medications at one point in time that affect my brain, like gabapentin, for example. Or what was the other one? There's another nerve pain medication they give people. But generally, the nerve pain medications they give people don't affect the nerve sites that are transmitting the signals. They affect the nerve receptors in the brain that receive them. Which is so asinine. The fact that you would try to treat someone's pain that's caused by X thing in their body by treating Y thing in their brain, by treating their consciousness, the thing that creates their reality. That seems so asinine. And so I had to deal with doctors that just wanted to prescribe me medications to get rid of this pain or to try to manage it. And I can say now that I'm mostly medication free. I've had to take one pain flare-up, which happened a week and a half ago, and then before that, 2 months ago, I've had 2 major pain flare-ups in like 4 months that required me to take pain meds. That's pretty good. That's better than every other day that I was at. So, yeah, I've got to say, makes a huge difference. And hey, that's Stanford. I'm going to let you all go. Thank you guys for listening. I love your faces. Bye! Go where I want and live comfortably wherever and not have to pay rent. Wow. I feel like I just broke the system. And that also affords me this level of security I don't think I've ever had in my life, which is magical. And then pair that off with my health issues starting to get sorted out and having a better handle on those. Holy crap, that's a huge life stress gone. That's multiple life stresses that compound each other gone. I haven't felt that mental weight lift. I haven't felt like that ever. To be honest. It's not saying things are perfect. Things are far from perfect. They could always be better. But things aren't bad. They could definitely be a lot worse than this. So I just want to say thank you guys again for being with me on this journey. Thank you guys for being a part of it. Thank you for all the support, from becoming a patron to the GoFundMe for Mr. Motorface the RV, to me just wigging out and posting a bunch of social media posts and posting a bunch of shitty live streams and giving you guys really bad content for 6 months. Thank you for enduring that. Like, seriously, thank you. Thank you, Stu from UAV Futures.
Wubba lubba dub dub!